What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for MLB Monday, July 11th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 7-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. So the stud that I like here tonight is Aaron Nola. He's pitching against the low salary batting team, the St. Louis Cardinals. Aaron Nola giving up a .648 OPS versus lefties, a .685 OPS versus righties, and a .474 OPS versus switch hitters, facing 3 lefties, 4 righties, and 2 switch hitters. But the reason that I like this pick is because the Cardinals have only hit 9 of his last 56 pitches. That's a 161 batting average and a pretty decent sample size. So Aaron Nola is 10,100 FanDuel salary, 100 less on DraftKings, averaging 38 fantasy points per game on the season. He has an ERA of 3.15, record is 5-6, pitching an average of 97 pitches per game. Vegas thinks this is going to be a low-scoring game. 7.5 runs scored in this game. That's their over-under. So I like Aaron Nola here versus the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, although on this slate, I would just prefer to pay up for Aaron Nola because there's plenty of value and not a lot of stud batters that I want to play. If I were going to go with a low-salary pitcher, I think it would be Cal Quantrill. And he's pitching against the Chicago White Sox. Cal Quantrill giving up a .717 OPS versus righties, facing 6 righties here tonight. The White Sox have hit 16 of his last 57 pitches. That's a 281 batting average. He's averaging 26 fantasy points per game on the season, has an ERA of 3.86, record is 5-5. Pitching an average of 92 pitches per game, so I like that from a low salary pitcher. And he is 7,800 FanDuel salary, same price on DraftKings. So I like Cal Quantrill as a low salary pitcher here versus the Chicago White Sox. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. Here's a value play. I like Christian Vasquez with a 26% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Matt Whistler. Christian Vasquez batting 6% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .734 OPS versus righties. Matt Whistler giving up a .691 OPS versus righties. Now, Christian Vasquez is 0 for 2 versus Whistler, but he's only 2,800 FanDuel salary. Now, he is 1,800 more on DraftKings, so I love that FanDuel price, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has a batting average of 292, so I like Christian Vasquez here versus Matt Whistler. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. There's a few picks that I like here in this position. First one is a value play. I like Andre Gimenez with a 29% batting advantage over Lance Lynn. Andre Gimenez batting 10% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .719 OPS versus righties. Lance Lynn is pitching 19% worse to lefties as he does righties, giving up a .700 OPS versus lefties. Now, Andre Gimenez is 2 for 6, batting a .333 batting average and a 1.333 OPS versus Lynn because he's got a home run and a double. He's 2,800 FanDuel salary, 1,000 more on DraftKings, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, and he has a batting average of .299. So I like Andre Gimenez here versus Lance Lynn. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Now, the next guy I like is Trevor Story, and he's batting against the low salary pitcher Matt Wisler. Trevor Story batting a .709 OPS versus righties. Matt Wisler giving up a .691 OPS versus righties. But I like this pick because Trevor Story is 5 for 12 with a .417 batting average and a 1.084 OPS versus Wisler. One of those 5 hits is for a home run. He's 3,300 FanDuel salary, 1,000 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season, scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games, has a batting average of .225. So I like Trevor Story here versus Matt Wisler. Now, another value play that I like is Thairo Estrada. He's got a 22% batting advantage over Merrill Kelly. Thairo Estrada batting 11% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .803 OPS versus righties. Merrill Kelly pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 12% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .745 OPS versus righties. There's no at-bats versus Kelly yet, but Thairo Estrada only 2,500 FanDuel salary, 1,200 more on DraftKings, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .256, so I like Thairo Estrada here versus Merrill Kelly. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. And here's one of the studs that I like on the slate. Probably my favorite stud on the slate is Jose Ramirez with a 52% batting advantage over Lance Lynn. Jose Ramirez batting 16% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .976 OPS versus righties. Lance Lynn pitching his worst ball by far to switch hitters, 36% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .987 OPS versus switch hitters. Jose Ramirez is 6 for 17. It's a .353 batting average and a 1.441 OPS versus Lynn. 3 of those 6 hits are home runs. It's got a double in there. So Jose Ramirez is 4,000 FanDuel salary, 1,200 more on DraftKings, averaging 14 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has a batting average of .290, so I like Jose Ramirez here versus Lance Lynn. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, who do we have at the shortstop position? I like Xander Bogaerts, and he's got a 13% batting advantage over that low salary pitcher, Matt Wisler. Xander Bogaerts batting a .854 OPS versus righties. Matt Wisler giving up a .691 OPS versus righties. Now, Xander Bogaerts is 2 for 4 versus Whistler with a 1.1 OPS. He's 3,200 FanDuel salary, 1,300 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games, and he has a batting average of .311. So I like Xander Bogaerts here versus Matt Whistler. Okay, moving on to the outfield position, I like JD Martinez here versus Matt Whistler. JD Martinez batting a .843 OPS versus righty pitchers. Matt Whistler giving up a .691 OPS versus righties. Now, JD Martinez is only 1 for 9 here versus Whistler, but that one hit was a home run. He's 3,500 FanDuel salary, 600 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .311, so I like JD Martinez here versus Matt Whistler. Now, another value play, I like David Peralta with a 35% batting advantage over Alex Cobb. David Peralta batting 24% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .773 OPS versus righties. Alex Cobb batting pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, giving up a .755 OPS versus lefties. David Peralta is 2 for 5 versus Cobb with a .8 OPS. He's got 2 singles, but that's a pretty good hit ratio. And David Peralta is only 2,700 FanDuel salary. He's 800 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. Now, he has been in a slump recently, only scoring fantasy points in 1 out of his last 5 games, but he's a batting average of .241. And I think he's in a pretty good spot here versus Alex Cobb. So I like David Peralta here versus Alex Cobb. Now, another value play, if you want to go there, take a look at Steven Kwan. He's got a 33% batting advantage over Lance Lynn. Steven Kwan batting 14% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .735 OPS versus righties. Lance Lynn giving up a .700 OPS versus lefties. There's no at-bats versus Lynn yet. Steven Kwan is 2,500 FanDuel salary, 900 more on DraftKings. So I like that price on both sites. He's averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has a batting average of .274. So you could argue here that Steven Kwan is a little bit better of a play than David Peralta. And it looks like he's a little cheaper on both sites, so that's interesting. And he's not in a slump. He's been scoring pretty well. So I like Steven Kwan here versus Lance Lynn.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.